Distinguished guests. Actually, most of the speeches will be in Greek, of course, other than the main speech, so we do apologize for speaking mostly in Greek. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που ήρθατε απόψε. Καλωσορίζω όλους στη σημερινή μας εκδήλωση. Είμαι ο Χρήστος Τιμαγέννης, ο Γενικός Γραμματέας του Propeller Club. Πολύ σύντομα απλά να σας πω ότι από τους βασικούς μας σκοπούς πάντοτε είναι η προώθηση συναντήσεων και συναναστροφών με εξέχουσες προσωπικότητες της ναυτιλίας στο σωματείο μας. Είναι λοιπόν μεγάλη μας χαρά στη σημερινή εκδήλωση να έχουμε δύο εκλεκτούς ομιλητές από αυτό το χώρο. Μετά τον σύντομο χαιρετισμό του Προέδρου μας και του Επίτιμου Προέδρου μας, του Πρέσβη των ΗΠΑ, του εκλεκτού κ. Τσούνη, θα ξεκινήσει μια εισαγωγική ομιλία του κ. Τσαντάνη. Εν συνεχεία θα μιλήσει ο κεντρικός μας ομιλητής, ο κύριος Sveinung Støhle, και από εκεί και πέρα θα υπάρχει και μια συζήτηση εδώ με τον κύριο Φραγκούλη. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που ήρθατε απόψε, μεγάλη μας τιμή, και παρόλο που φορώ την πράσινη γραβάτα να πω ότι και εγώ Ολυμπιακός είμαι και ευχαριστώ και συγχαρητήρια στην ομάδα μας εδώ του λιμανιού μας που πήγε τόσο καλά. Να είστε καλά. Καλό λοιπόν τον πρόεδρό μας, τον κύριο Κωστή Φραγκούλη, να απευθύνει ένα σύντομο χαιρετισμό.
Καλησπέρα και από μένα, στο Ανέστη. Νομίζω ήταν μια καταπληκτική εβδομάδα με πολλές προκρίσεις, τελικούς. Πόσοι Ολυμπιακοί είναι απόψε εδώ πέρα, να σηκώσω τα χέρια. Όπως πάντα πλειοψηφία. Αξιότιμε πρέσβη, αξιότιμε αρχηγέ του Γενικού Επιτελείου Ναυτικού, αξιότιμε αρχηγέ Στόλου, αξιότιμε αρχηγέ του Λιμενικού Σώματος και της Γενικής Ακτοφυλακής, αξιότιμε Β' υπαρχηγέ του Λιμενικού, αξιότιμε επίτιμε αρχηγέ Στόλου, αγαπητά μέλη, αγαπητοί φίλοι, αγαπητοί κυβερνήτες. Καλώς ήρθατε στη μεγάλη μας ημέρα των μελών, αφιερωμένη στα νέα μας μέλη. Απόψε είναι μια ξεχωριστή βραδιά, καθώς καλωσορίζουμε 200 νέα μέλη στο Propeller Πειραιά, αλλά και στην ευρύτερη οικογένεια του Διεθνούς Propeller, του μεγαλύτερου οργανισμού δικτύωσης στον κόσμο, στη παγκόσμια ναυτιλία, με 80 clubs και πάνω από 6.000 ενεργά μέλη. Αισθάνομαι ιδιαίτερα περήφανος γιατί βλέπω χρόνο με το χρόνο το κλαμπ μας να εξελίσσεται και να μεγαλώνει. Όχι μόνο ποσοτικά, αλλά κυρίως ποιοτικά. Και ως Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο δουλεύουμε μεθοδικά και αδιάλειπτα προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση, διότι χτίζουμε πάνω στα ισχυρά μας θεμέλια, οδηγώντας το Propeller στην επόμενη μέρα. Μέσα από αυτή τη στρατηγική και βασισμένο στο όραμά μας, δημιουργήθηκε το 2019 και το μότο μας Next Working for the Future, που μας αντιπροσωπεύει απόλυτα. Θα ήθελα λοιπόν σε αυτό το σημείο να καλωσορίσω και να καλωσορίσουμε όλοι μαζί με ένα ζεστό χειροκρότημα τα νέα μας μέλη. Όσο χαρούμενοι είμαστε που σας καλωσορίζουμε, τόσο υπερήφανοι ελπίζω να νιώθετε που ενταχθήκατε σήμερα σε αυτό το ιστορικό σωματείο που του χρόνου συμπληρώνει 90 χρόνια ζωής, παρουσίας και προσφοράς στην ελληνική ναυτιλία και στην ελληνική κοινωνία. Να ευχαριστήσω τον Σταμάτη Τσαντάνη, CEO της Seanergy Maritime και της United Maritime, που θα καλωσορίσει απόψε τα νέα μέλη. Ένα καταξιωμένο μέλος μας που μας τιμάει απόψε με την παρουσία του. Πέρσι στο Hellenic American Shipping Gala τιμήσαμε τις δύο εισηγμένες εταιρείες του στο Nasdaq, μαζί με τις υπόλοιπες 25 ελληνικές εταιρείες που είναι εισηγμένες στα αμερικάνικα χρηματιστήρια. Μια σημαντική συνεργασία Ελλάδος και Αμερικής στην ναυτιλία. I would like to thank and welcome our keynote speaker, Sveinung Støhle, Deputy CEO of the Αγγελικούση Group, Sveinung, thank you so much for your presence today. It's a great honor to have you with us. I would also like to welcome Mrs. Støhle. And I think we have also a few Maran executives today with us. With 141 vessels on the water, of which 122 under the Greek flag, and another 24 on order, Αγγελικούση is the largest private shipping group in the world. And this fills us in the Greek shipping community with great pride. Sveinung Støhle rarely speaks in public, so we expect this keynote address with great interest, as well as the fireside chat which will follow. Immediately after that, we will present him with the honorary membership of our club. Ένα χειροκρότημα για τον κύριο Στøhle. Και για τον κύριο Τσαντάνη που μου διέφυγε πριν. Θα ήθελα βεβαίως να απευθύνω ένα θερμό καλωσόρισμα στο φίλο πρέσβη της Αμερικής στην Ελλάδα και επίτιμο πρόεδρό μας George Tsunis, τον οποίο δεν χρειάζεται να προσφωνήσω στα αγγλικά, ο οποίος βρίσκεται πάντα δίπλα μας. Και να πω εδώ για τα νέα μας μέλη ότι ο εκάστοτε πρέσβης των ΗΠΑ από ιδρύσεως του κλαμπ το 1935 είναι και επίτιμος πρόεδρός μας. Και φυσικά η παρουσία του εδώ απόψε αποτελεί απόδειξη του ισχυρού δεσμού μεταξύ των δύο λαών μας. Η προώθηση της συνεργασίας Ελλάδας-Αμερικής στην ναυτιλία, αλλά και η ανάπτυξη των ελληνοαμερικανικών σχέσεων σε επίπεδο κοινωνικό, πολιτιστικό, κοινωνικό και οικονομικό βρισκόταν ανέκαθεν στο επίκεντρο των σκοπών μας και το γεγονός ότι οι διμερείς σχέσεις βρίσκονται στο πιο υψηλό επίπεδο μας ικανοποιεί ιδιαίτερα. Αυτό δεν θα ήταν δυνατό χωρίς την άψογη συνεργασία και συνεχή υποστήριξη ολόκληρης της ομάδας της πρεσβείας, με επικεφαλής βέβαια τον πρέσβη. Να ενημερώσω πως στα πλαίσια των Ποσειδονίων θα συμμετέχουμε ξανά στην έκθεση με περίπτερο στο American Pavilion, ενώ στις 6 Ιουνίου θα είμαστε εκ των συνδιοργανωτών του 4ου σεμιναρίου Trading in US Waters, μαζί με το Ελληνοαμερικανικό Εμπορικό Επιμελητήριο, την Πρεσβεία, την ΑΠ.Α και το Ναυτικό Επιμελητήριο της Ελλάδος. Στις 16 Μαΐου θα έχω τη χαρά και την τιμή να παρευρεθώ μαζί με άλλους κυβερνήτες και μέλη μας στην Κύπρο, όπου θα γιορτάσουμε την επανίδρυση του νέου Propeller Club Μεσού, με πρόεδρο το επίτιμο μέλος μας, Πόλη Χατζιωάννου, τον οποίο φιλοξενήσαμε στο περσινό Members Day ως κεντρικό ομιλητή. Εκπροσωπώντας το Διεθνές Propeller ως πρώτος αντιπρόεδρος του, θα έχω την τιμή να παραδώσω το chapter του club στον νέο πρόεδρο και να τον καλωσορίσουμε και τυπικά στη μεγάλη οικογένεια του Propeller. Τελειώνοντας, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω από καρδιάς το Διοικητικό μου Συμβούλιο, τη Δικούσα Επιτροπή και όλους τους κυβερνήτες για τη συνεχή τους προσφορά και στήριξη. Ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ στα 33 μέλη μας που συμμετέχουν στις 8 επιτροπές μας και σε όλα τα ενεργά μας μέλη για τη συνεχή σας υποστήριξη. Και επειδή έχουμε και ένα μέλος μας υποψήφια σε ευρωεκλογές, να ευχηθώ κάθε επιτυχία στη Βανέσα Αρχοντίδου που συμμετέχει με το συνδυασμό της Νέας Δημοκρατίας. Και πριν καλέσω τον πρέσβη, I talked about the close ties with the ambassador and the embassy team. So before the ambassador delivers his address, I would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to a dear friend at the embassy who will be leaving this month. I want to thank him for his great support and excellent cooperation during his time in Athens. I would like to ask Eric Holmgren, the economic counselor of the embassy, to join me so I can present him with a plaque of recognition as a token of appreciation from our club. Ambassador, please join me.
Χρήστο, πού είσαι? Πού είναι ο Χρήστος? The General Secretary. Ναι. So, ρωτάς συγγνώμη γιατί θα μιλήσουμε στα ελληνικά. Well, it's all Greek to me. Χρήστο, Λες είσαι Ολυμπιακός όμως, βλέπω φοράς μια πράσινη γραβάτα. Λίγο περίεργο αυτό. Δεν τη στράει καλά. Εγώ πρέπει να ρωτήσω συγγνώμη. Πρώτη φορά που ήρθα στο Propeller Club τώρα χωρίς τη δική μου την Propeller Club γραβάτα. I blame Eric for that. But it's always an honor to be here with you. It's always an honor to be here with my good friend Kostis, who is a dynamic individual, and this is a very dynamic Propeller Club. I think it was last year, one of the honorary Propeller Club that you honored was the Seattle Propeller Club. And it is not lost on me that this Propeller Club, which is the largest in the world, is inaugurating 200 new members this year. I think when we were honoring Seattle, there were more new members coming into the Piraeus Propeller Club than there were members in Seattle. Just to give you an understanding of the size and the scope and the impact that the Propeller Club has. I also, as we're talking about soccer, πού είναι ο Ξίδης? Ο Ξίδης εκεί. Μεγάλωσαν στο ίδιο χωριό, στο Πλάτανο. They were, στα βουνά. Δεν ήξερα μέχρι θάλασσες σε Ελλάδα. Όμως θα σου πει εγώ είμαι ένας πολύ καλός παίκτης. When I think about the Propeller Club, and, it is something that is maritime in nature, but it also speaks about building bridges. For decades, Propeller Clubs, and especially the Propeller Club in Piraeus, has built bridges. It has built bridges between Greece and the United States and this industry that is incredibly important, not only to the United States and Greece, where this is 8% of the GDP. It is an industry that the Greeks dominate. Think of it, a country of 10.4 million people. 21% of the global fleet is Greek-owned. 60% of the European fleet is Greek-owned. And folks, this is pretty consequential, as 90% of the global economy moves in this construct. 90% of the global economy. This is what brings food and energy and medicines and everything to all places in the world. It's an incredible fleet, and I salute you for this accomplishment. It speaks to Greek ingenuity, it speaks to Greek entrepreneurship. It also speaks to the point that Greeks are people of the sea. But it had a little bit of help, and it had a little bit of help from my home country, the United States. You did a very good job of accessing the U.S. capital markets. You took a traditional Greek industry, and you grew tremendously accessing the U.S. capital markets. I thought at last count there were 29 Greek companies that were listed on the New York and NASDAQ exchanges. And this is just one area of cooperation where the two countries can help each other grow in a crucial industry. We were here for our Oceans Conference not long ago. A global conference when people from all over the world came to talk about the issues facing our oceans. There were a lot of commitments made. It shined the light on what is a very important issue. And once again, Greece showed tremendous hospitality and leadership on this issue. Now, a lot is being said about decarbonization. If the Greek fleet were a nation, it would be the 8th largest emitter in the world. I do not say this as a sense of criticism at all. I say this as a sense of emphasizing the scale of this industry and the scale of this industry that is owned by Greeks. So what do we do to sort of decarbonize? Well, I'll tell you what our embassy did. We put $125 million in Seanergy. And we did it in a way that emphasized investments so ships can get a midlife refurbishment and become more efficient, reducing carbon. We also did it because it's very important that in Greece, and two U.S. companies, Onyx and Cisco, did a remarkable job in Syros. That shipyard, before we got involved, had 10 ships a year. Today it's over 100 that get refurbished. It is fully $250 million impact. It's 40% of the GDP of Syros. In Elefsina, we went from, when we started there, 300 jobs. It was literally falling into the water. And today there's 1,000 people working there. There's going to be $250 million of investment that's put there. And if we accomplish everything we set out to, and we will, it will be 3,000 jobs. It will be $2 billion in economic impact. And as I was so proud of Kapitanos Tsakos, he was the first vessel that was being repaired there. It is an opportunity for you all to repair and refurbish your fleet in Greece. That's not only important for your industry, it's important for the Coast Guard, and it's important for the Hellenic Navy. It not only speaks to this country's economic interests, but it speaks to its national security interests as well. So yet another example where our two countries cooperate together. And folks, I know a lot has been said that the relationship is at an all-time high and Greece is the pillar of stability, and I call it the essential geostrategic partner that we have. All of it is true. I'm proud of the cooperation our two countries have. It's based on values. It's based on common interests. When things are difficult, you can count on Greeks. This week we celebrated Victory in Europe Day. And most people celebrate the victory in Europe, VE Day. You know, I like to point out that the Greeks celebrate their entry into the war, not the victory in the war. When the world had lost hope, and many thought that fascism was going to overrun Europe, it was the Greeks that scored under overwhelming odds the first Allied victory over an Axis power, and they gave the world hope. It delayed Operation Barbarossa, and it was the turning point of the war. So when I say that Greeks are capable, impactful, and they act with values, I mean it. I also run around this country talking about the Greek economy. Now, Larry Summers, who was a former U.S. Treasury Secretary, came to an economist conference and said that over the last decade, Greece is the economy of the decade. More improvement than any other economy in the world. A remarkable statement where it was written off and we thought that it was going to go out of the euro. The fastest growing economy in Europe the last 3 years. The fastest growing economy in Europe. A 1.4% primary budget surplus, investment grade, interest rates that are 100 basis points less than the U.S., a 28% unemployment rate that is now coming into single digits. This is a country where you went from you couldn't find a job to now you can't find an employee. Well, that's a high-class problem to have. People are telling me, oh my God, there's so much tourism, there's so much FDI, there's so much investment coming in, rents have gotten expensive. I know that presents challenges and they have to be addressed. But folks, if you don't have those types of problems, you have all the other kinds of problems that I assure you are more difficult to solve. This transformation of the Greek economy, to a large extent, is credited to the people in this room. And in addition to that capability, that resiliency, I want to acknowledge one other thing. This is the founding nation of democracy. When my country stood up a government 248 years ago, it was based on the values and the principles that were born right here in ancient Athens. Values that are important today as they ever been. The four freedoms. For the first time ever, people came together with a sense of self-determination. They themselves determined by whom and how they would be governed. A novel concept millenniums ago. Today, there are challenges. Democracy has backslid for 16 consecutive years. And the founding nation of democracy and the United States have an obligation, a responsibility to protect democracy. Because democracies don't only give you these values, these ideals, these principles. They generally provide you with a safer, more opportunistic, richer type of life. But we have to understand that not everyone has access to that. There's 117 million displaced persons in this world. Half of them are children. Think of the determination it takes for a mother to put her 2-year-old on her shoulders, her 4-year-old by her arm, get into inflatable, risk her life to give her children an opportunity to go to a democracy, an opportunity to become the best versions of themselves, an opportunity to have the life that my parents sought. My mom and dad, very similar to a lot of your parents. They left a very small village, dirt poor. They knew war, they knew hunger. No running water, no electricity. The outhouse. They came to the United States and they were able to rebuild their lives. This is not something that we should demonize. I think the Tsunises benefited the United States. My country was built by immigrants. There's no denying that. Are we going to demonize this process? Are we not concerned as thought leaders about the rhetoric that exists in the world today? Outright hatred. We are weaponizing hatred. We need to shut out the voices of divisiveness, and we need to embrace the voices of love and understanding and inclusion and hope and opportunity and possibility. Because this is Philotimo. We're all God's children. But we need to speak up for each other and stand up for each other. We need to provide everyone with the opportunity to become the best versions of themselves, to climb the ladders of success, to have the opportunities that we have. That is the mark of a great civilization. But what I'm talking about does not only benefit those that wash up on a shore that are fleeing war and community violence. It benefits the countries in which they came to. We have a shortage all over Europe of healthcare workers and workers in your industry and agricultural workers and healthcare workers and construction workers. There's 150,000 less construction workers in Greece than there were a decade and a half ago. Let's give them an opportunity. Let's think about this not as a problem that we're going to demonize or weaponize for crass and corrosive political purposes. Let's look at this as an opportunity to help grow our economy. Because I think we should have the heart of a social worker but the brain of a banker. Everything I am expressing to you about providing opportunities and tolerance and acceptance in our society is also good for our economy. And it's necessary today. You know, I spoke about democracy, but democracy works best when it works for all. It works well when we are a people that embrace love. Because people should be who they are. They should love who they love, be who they are, and be accepted by everywhere. Full stop. I, for one, am not comfortable making a determination where love and commitment begin and end. Nor should we. For those of us that are religious, Jesus Christ said, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. So I don't have to talk to you about gender equality. You know what's really interesting? My friend Denai is the first vice president here. The president of the Union of Greek ship owners is a woman. The president of the Republic is a woman. You know, this is amazing. We cannot continue as a series of societies to sideline 50% of the intellectual capital of the world and think we're going to solve the problems of the day, whether it's food insecurity or climate crisis or anything. We need to embrace the fact that everyone can contribute here. That's something that just makes sense. So it is, you know, I'm also going to leave soon. I have about 8 months and 10 days on my term. Not that I'm counting or anything like that. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from you. But what I have learned about this country is that it is filled with kind and open-minded and decent, philanthropical people that have welcomed me, and they welcome many others. It's been an honor to do this work, and I'm proud of the fact I'm the U.S. ambassador here. I'm especially proud that I'm the honorary president of the Propeller Club. But να σου πω κάτι, πάντοτε θα είμαι αυτό το παιδί από το πλάτανο. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. No matter how many times we've heard you speaking at the Propeller Club events, you always make us feel very proud of our country, much prouder than we normally are. So thank you so much about that. Ο επόμενος ομιλητής μας δεν χρειάζεται ιδιαίτερες συστάσεις. Έχει προαναφερθεί, είναι ο κύριος Σταμάτης Τσαντάνης, είναι chairman και CEO της Seanergy Maritime. Θα προσθέσω στη δεύτερη εταιρεία πιο πρόσφατα και founder στη United Maritime, την πιο πρόσφατη εταιρεία εισηγμένη και εκείνη στο Nasdaq. Οπότε, χωρίς περισσότερες εισαγωγές, μεγάλη μας χαρά να τον ακούσουμε σήμερα. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ, κύριε Τσαντάνη.
Μου επιτρέψετε να φορέσω τα γυαλιά μου, γιατί δεν βλέπω πια καλά. Λοιπόν, αξιότιμε πρέσβη των Ηνωμένων Πολιτειών και επίτιμε πρόεδρε του International Propeller Club Πειραιά, κύριος Γιώργος Τσούνης, αξιότιμε πρόεδρε του International Propeller Club Πειραιά, φίλε Κωστή, φυσικά οι κυβερνήτες, τα μέλη του Propeller Club, η ηγεσία του πολεμικού μας ναυτικού και του λιμενικού μας σώματος. Θα ήθελα καταρχήν να καλωσορίσω τα καινούργια μέλη στο Propeller Club, τα οποία θεωρώ ότι είναι μια τεράστια τιμή, την οποία πιστεύω ότι περάσανε πάρα πολλά χρόνια να την εκτιμήσει ο κόσμος στην Ελλάδα έτσι όπως έπρεπε, και είμαι πολύ περήφανος που βλέπω μια τόσο μεγάλη συνεισφορά και έτσι ένα καινούριο ρεύμα στο Propeller Club, το οποίο νομίζω ότι του δίνει την πραγματική του αξία που πρέπει να έχει. Λοιπόν, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω προσωπικά τον Κωστή Φραγκούλη για την τιμητική πρόσκληση που μου έκανε να είμαι εδώ ομιλητής σήμερα σε αυτή τη σημαντική εκδήλωση και να κάνω τον ενακτήριο χαιρετισμό. Με μεγάλη χαρά, λοιπόν, για άλλη μια φορά καλωσορίζουμε τα νέα μέλη, τα 200 νέα μέλη του Propeller Club, το οποίο αποτελεί έναν από τους σημαντικότερους θεσμούς στα ναυτιλιακά δρόμενα της χώρας μας. Ξεκίνησε, λοιπόν, όπως είπαμε, το 1922 στη Νέα Υόρκη και συνιστά έναν από τους σημαντικότερους οργανισμούς δικτύωσης της παγκόσμιας ναυτιλίας. Παραμένει ένας σύγχρονος τόπος συνάντησης και ανταλλαγής απόψεων, όχι μόνο μεταξύ των μελών, αλλά και μεταξύ των κύριων φορέων γύρω από την ναυτιλία, την οικονομία, το εμπόριο και την ασφάλεια στη θάλασσα. Επίσης, σε αυτό το σημείο αξίζει να αναφερθεί ότι 13 χρόνια μετά, δηλαδή το 1935, ιδρύθηκε το παράρτημα του Πειραιά, το οποίο το καθιστά έναν από τους παλαιότερους σύγχρονους οργανισμούς που ασχολούνται με την ναυτιλία στη χώρα μας. Όπως είπαμε και πριν πολλές φορές, αποτελεί το μεγαλύτερο κλαμπ ανάμεσα σε ένα δίκτυο 80 παρατημάτων παγκοσμίως και σύντομα το κλαμπ θα αποτελείται πάνω από 1.000 μέλη, το οποίο νομίζω είναι τεράστιο contribution όλης της καινούργιας ηγεσίας, αλλά φυσικά και της παλαιότερης που το έχει φέρει σε αυτό το σημείο που είναι σήμερα. Φυσικά πρέπει να υπενθυμίσουμε ότι το ιστορικό και κοινωνικό σωματείο αυτό έχει αμέριστη και συνεχή αφοσίωση για τα κοινά, με πλούσιο κοινωνικό έργο και φιλανθρωπικές δράσεις όπως υποτροφίες, δωρεές και διάφορες ενέργειες οι οποίες αποτελούν τεράστιο contribution στην ελληνική πραγματικότητα. Εμείς ως 2 εταιρείες εισηγμένες έχουμε υποστηρίξει τις δράσεις αυτές στο μέγιστο δυνατό βαθμό. Όπως είπε πριν και ο φίλος Κωστής, στο επίκεντρο των στόχων βρίσκεται και η ναυτιλιακή συνεργασία μεταξύ Ελλάδας και Αμερικής και η προώθηση των διμερών σχέσεων. Στο πλαίσιο αυτό πραγματοποιήθηκε με εξαιρετική επιτυχία τον Ιούλιο του 2023 το πρώτο Hellenic American Shipping Gala, όπου τίμησε εισάξια τη συνεισφορά 27 ναυτιλιακών ελληνικών εταιριών εισηγμένων στις κεφαλαιογορές της Αμερικής, αποδεικνύοντας έτσι τους στενούς δεσμούς της ελληνικής ναυτιλίας και των αμερικανικών κεφαλαιογορών. 2 εξ αυτών των ναυτιλιακών εταιριών είναι η Seanergy Maritime Holdings και η spin-off εταιρεία η οποία ιδρύσαμε το 2022 που λέγεται United Maritime Corporation. Έχω την τιμή να εκπροσωπώ τις εταιρείες αυτές σήμερα και να τις ηγούμε. Η Seanergy λοιπόν είναι μια ναυτιλιακή εταιρεία η οποία διαχειρίζεται ένα στόλο αποκλειστικά με Cape-size πλοία. Έχει 19 πλοία αυτή τη στιγμή, τα οποία αποτελούνται από Cape-sizes και Newcastle Maxes, με μια μεταφορική ικανότητα που ξεπερνάει τα 3,4 εκατομμύρια deadweight tons. Οι μετοχές μας διαπραγματεύονται στο χρηματιστήριο του Nasdaq με το σύμβολο SHIP. Μέχρι πρότινος ήμασταν και η μοναδική εταιρεία pure play σε Cape-sizes σε αμερικάνικες κεφαλαγορές. Η United Maritime Corporation, που είναι η δεύτερη εισηγμένη εταιρεία μας, αποτελείται από 9 πλοία μεταφοράς χίδιν ξηρού φορτίου, 3 Cape-size, 3 Kamsarmaxes και 3 Panamaxes, με συνολική μεταφορική ικανότητα που υπερβαίνει το 1 εκατομμύριο deadweight tons. Οι 2 εταιρείες combined έχουν 4,4 εκατομμύρια τόνους συνολική μεταφορική ικανότητα. Η δεύτερη εταιρεία λοιπόν διαπραγματεύεται και αυτή στο Nasdaq με το σύμβολο UC. Τα κεντρικά μας γραφεία βρίσκονται και της Seanergy και της United Maritime βρίσκονται στην Γλυφάδα. Όλο το Διοικητικό Συμβούλιο της εταιρείας και όλη η διοίκηση ταξιδεύει συχνά στην Αμερική και συμμετέχει σε διάφορα διεθνή forums και έχουν αποτελέσει οι αμερικάνικες κεφαλαγορές μια τεράστια πηγή άντλησης κεφαλαίων για την ανάπτυξη όχι μόνο των δικών μας εταιριών, αλλά όπως είπε και πριν ο πρέσβης της ελληνικής ναυτιλίας της χιλιετίας του 2000 και μετά. Εγώ προσωπικά είχα την τιμή να συμμετέχω ως τραπεζίτης το 2001 με την πρώτη ελληνική εταιρεία ναυτιλιακών συμφερόντων, ελληνικών κυπριακών, που ήταν η Stellmar Maritime Holdings, όπου είχαμε μπει τότε στο χρηματιστήριο, εγώ ως τραπεζίτης junior τότε, είχαμε μπει τότε στο New York Stock Exchange στις 5 Μαρτίου του 2001. Και αυτό αποτέλεσε το νέο κύμα εισαγωγής εταιριών, ξεκίνησε μάλλον το κύμα εισαγωγής εταιριών και έκτοτε μπήκαν όλες οι υπόλοιπες εταιρείες όπως ξέρουμε σήμερα. Όσες παραμένουν ακόμα εισηγμένες, αλλά θεωρούμε ότι κάναμε τότε τη μεγάλη αρχή. Πριν εξετάσουμε το New York Stock Exchange εκείνη την εποχή, είχαμε κάνει φυσικά μια έρευνα αγοράς σε πολλές άλλες παγκόσμιες κεφαλαγορές και κρίναμε τότε, με όσα δεδομένα είχαμε διαθέσιμα, ότι τα US Capital Markets αποτελούσαν και εξακολουθούν να αποτελούν σήμερα μια τεράστια πηγή κεφαλαίων. Τα κεφάλαια αυτά τα οποία έχουν χρησιμοποιηθεί όλα αυτά τα χρόνια, όχι μόνο έχουν χτίσει τεράστιους στόλους σε πολλούς τομείς, όπως τα tankers, όπως τα containers και φυσικά στα dry bulk, αλλά θεωρώ σε μεγάλο βαθμό ότι έχουν κάνει contribute, έχουν συνεισφέρει να παραμένει και να αυξάνει η Ελλάδα τη θέση της στην παγκόσμια ναυτιλία. Οπότε το equity capital, το οποίο αντλείται από τις αμερικάνικες κεφαλαιαγορές, έχει αποτελέσει έναν σημαντικό πυλώνα ανάπτυξης των ελληνικών ναυτιλιακών εταιριών. Έτσι, αυτό δεν πρέπει να το ξεχνάμε. Πόσα δισεκατομμύρια δολάρια έχουμε αντλήσει από τις αμερικάνικες κεφαλαιαγορές και εγώ προσωπικά ως τραπεζίτης και ως executive ναυτιλιακών εταιριών. Μιας και το σημερινό μας θέμα είναι Navigating through challenging times towards a sustainable future, θα ήθελα να σας πω ότι η Seanergy Maritime είναι η πρώτη και μοναδική ναυτιλιακή εταιρεία η οποία συμμετέχει στο πρόγραμμα Safecraft, το οποίο είναι funded από το European Union, και θα μετασκευάσουμε ένα από τα existing πλοία μας, όπως είπε πριν και ο πρέσβης ο κύριος Τσούνης, θα μετασκευάσουμε ένα existing Cape-size πλοίο προκειμένου να χρησιμοποιήσουμε το υδρογόνο ως πηγή ηλεκτρικής ενέργειας αλλά και προώσης. Αυτό το πρόγραμμα λοιπόν είναι το μοναδικό πρόγραμμα το οποίο κάνει fund η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, μάλλον είμαστε η μοναδική εταιρεία που συμμετέχουμε στο πρόγραμμα αυτό, και ένα από τα πλοία μας θεωρούμε ότι μέχρι το τέλος του 2025, αρχές του 2026, και μάλιστα τότε το πλοίο αυτό θα είναι 12 ετίας, θα έχει, ευελπιστούμε, καταφέρει να επιδείξει ότι μπορούμε να χρησιμοποιήσουμε εναλλακτικές πηγές ενέργειας ως μέσο πρόωσης, όχι αποκλειστικά, αλλά τουλάχιστον εν μέρη, στα πλοία μας. Επίσης θέλω να σημειώσω ότι η Seanergy Maritime Holdings είναι η πρώτη και μοναδική ναυτιλιακή εταιρεία στην Ελλάδα που έχει αναγνωριστεί ως Best Workplace για το 2023 από το Great Place to Work Ελλάς. Και φυσικά αναμένουμε και τα αποτελέσματα το 2024. Οπότε θα ήθελα να σας πω δύο πολύ σημαντικές πρωτιές οι οποίες έχει η εταιρεία μας στα ελληνικά δεδομένα. Θα ήθελα λοιπόν τώρα να κλείσω το χαιρετισμό αυτό λέγοντας ότι είμαστε ιδιαίτερα περήφανοι που αποτελούμε ως Seanergy και United Maritime μέλη του International Propeller Club Πειραιά και εμείς προσωπικά, και έχουμε σχηματίσει μάλιστα και στο γραφείο μια πολύ μεγάλη ομάδα η οποία συμμετέχει ατομικά και στο International Propeller Club Πειραιά. Και φυσικά ενθαρρύνουμε και πολλά νέα μέλη να συμμετάσχουν. Όχι μόνο για τις εκλογές, αλλά και να δίνουν την υποστήριξή τους συνέχεια στο θεσμό αυτό. Με αυτά και με αυτά θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω πάρα πολύ. Να ευχαριστήσω για άλλη μια φορά τον Κωστή για την μεγάλη τιμή που μου κάνει και να τα πούμε σύντομα. Χάρηκα πάρα πολύ. Ευχαριστώ.
Επίσης να σου δώσω και το κείμενο.
Αν μπορούσαμε να παρομοιάσουμε τη σημερινή εκδήλωση έτσι με ένα μενού με πολλαπλά πιάτα, τα καλωσορίσματα, τα μουσμπούς στην αρχή, το πρώτο πιάτο ήταν και εξαιρετικό του κύριου Τσαντάνη. Περάσουμε στο main course λοιπόν, στο κυρίως πιάτο. Έχουμε τη μεγάλη τιμή σήμερα. We're very honored to have today with us Mr. Sveinung Støhle. He's a Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Αγγελικούσης Group as of January 2022. He has a truly global career for over 25 years. In various countries such as the US, France, Nigeria, United Kingdom, Norway, and interesting enough, Greece, where he served in senior executive positions. He was President and Chief Executive Officers of Höegh LNG Ltd, Chairman of Höegh LNG Partners, Board Director of Avenir LNG, President of Total LNG. As you can see, he's an expert on LNG. Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Golar LNG, General Commercial Manager at Nigeria LNG. He's a Norwegian citizen. He has an MBA from University of San Francisco and a Bachelor in Finance from California State University. Last but not least, he's married. His wonderful wife is here with us today, and he has 4 children. That's a huge achievement by itself. Well, of course, with again his wives, I'm sure, heavy lifting on that side. So may I move to the last portion, which is his speech, basically is titled, Navigating Through Challenging Times Towards a Sustainable Future. I'm welcoming here Mr. Støhle, thank you so much. And don't forget, we have our drinks, which is the dessert, and it's always the most sweet part. I look forward to the main course.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Okay, yeah. First of all, thank you for the very kind introduction. A bit too long, if you ask me, but anyway. I'd like to thank the Propeller Club for inviting me here tonight to hold this speech for you. And obviously, also very honored to be here. I know this organization has a very long and proud history. So I had no second thoughts about saying yes to be here tonight. I think the first thing I would like to start with is to say a few words about the Greek shipping industry on a general basis. Because, as was mentioned to start with, I have lived a few places around the world, not all of them working in shipping, but in either energy or shipping, and the two of them are very, very closely connected. And clearly, the Greek shipping industry is very vibrant. It's very alive. It's an industry which has grown over the years. And obviously, this is a great achievement. And I think Greek shipping, okay, maybe China today has a few more gross tons, most of that owned by the States, so I'm not sure it really counts. But anyway, the Greek shipping as an industry is really on the top. And what I have noticed during my time here is, of course, that there's a very, very strong push forward at all times from all of you here and everybody else that works in this industry. And I think that is something, at least based on my experience, which is very unique, because you have the cooperation of the industry, the government, and the different organizations like the Union of Greek Ship Owners. And this is something I think my message would be, we all have to work hard to take care of that and make sure it continues, because it's not a given. It's not at all a given. Competition is very tough, and we all need to make sure that we continue to have a very strong push forward and make sure that the industry stays on top and ahead of things. Because otherwise, there are other priorities that will be given, and competition comes from all different sources at any given point in time. So it was mentioned also during the introduction that with Angelikusi's group, I'm very proud to work for this company. Yes, we have a big fleet. That goes without saying with the number of ships we have. But there's one very important aspect I would like to address, and that has to do with our corporate culture, which I think obviously probably is not unique, but there's one aspect of it which for us is very, very important. And that is that we have roughly 8,500 seafarers. Of those, the majority, if not all, are Greek on the officer side. And why is that? Because we fly the Greek flag with pride. And when you have the Greek flag, the officers have to be Greek. Now, how do we manage to, at all times, make sure we have enough? Because we have the largest cadet program in Greece. Every 6 months, we take in 350 cadets every 6 months. So in a year, about 700. And they go through the ranks and become the chief officers and the captains in our fleet. Obviously, all of our people in the office. They are mostly Greek, maybe except me. But, and I think this for us is a very important part of our strategy, a very important part of our culture. And it's a way for our group to basically give something back and making sure that we get, basically, we believe, the absolute best officers into our fleet. So with that, coming to my main point in my speech, navigating through challenging times towards a sustainable future. That is a very broad topic and contains more than one subject, but I will try to address it one by one. And the first one, obviously, is challenging times. I have, I believe, been in this business for a very, very long time. We all know shipping works in cycles. It always have, it always will. Some of them are short, some of them are long. But today, we have a situation with wars in Europe and in the Middle East, with missiles being fired on our vessels in the Red Sea, with Somali pirates attacking vessels again, with basically an economic war between East and West, or West and East, depending on which side you're on, with long COVID effects, lower economic growth, energy transition, and emission regulations. The last point is probably both a challenge and an opportunity in my view. But if you add all of this together, what it means is that our industry is faced with, I believe, all those things taken together, an unprecedented challenging times. And the net effect of the points I mentioned is basically a much higher degree of uncertainty, longer ton miles, higher costs, higher interest rates, basically a situation where you really need to focus and make sure that you manage your business in the best possible way. So how do we manage through these times? What I'm going to say now probably sounds a bit too simplistic, but in challenging times, and I have been through a few, the number one thing is to focus on your business, focus on your business model, focus on making sure that you and your whole team pulls in the same direction. The one thing that comes to mind then is leadership. This is where the top management really needs to stand in front and make sure that everybody understands correctly what's at stake and what needs to be done. So focus on what you know best and how to do it best, and only that. And it's probably also the time to make sure that you know how to say no. Because in challenging times, it's very easy to be distracted and make wrong decisions. And that's really what you cannot afford to do. The second point I would like to point out when you're looking at challenging times is that all companies are different. All markets are different, also in shipping. They all have their challenges and their opportunities. But what you need to do when you are facing challenging times like today is to be true to your core values. And core values means, at least for me, that for our group, number one, we take the long-term view. We take the long-term view because if we don't, we're not going to be there tomorrow. So we invest in the long term, in our employees, in our customers, and all the relationships that we have. Number two, your people. You have to make sure that you take care of your people, and that not only take care, but you care about your people. And that means that you need to show to the organization that you're really sincere about that, and make sure that everybody understands it. And lastly, in these times, I believe that innovation is extremely important, because it's when you're under pressure that a lot of good things come up and people think differently. And innovation can mean a lot of things, of course, but since we are ship owners, we think about ships, and I think that a lot of developments have been made the last few years, which have really come out of really stressful situations where people have to come up with new solutions. So innovation and embracing new solutions is really, really important. Now I'd like to focus on transiting to a more sustainable future. That's a very wide topic. And as has already been mentioned by Mr. Ambassador Tsunis, is that it's important to have some perspective on what our industry does. The shipping industry transports 90% of all goods moved around the world. The CO2 emissions from the shipping industry is between 2 and 3%. That sounds not very much. Does that mean that we shouldn't do anything? Does that mean that this is not important? Obviously not. We all have to contribute. We all have to find solutions to decarbonize our industry. But we have to do it in a manner which means that we can continue to deliver 90% of the goods around the world. So, how do we do that? I think the most important thing is to think about decarbonization, is that this is a transition. It's not a switch. It's not something that can happen overnight. Despite what certain NGOs, regulatory policymakers try to think. So we have to understand that, yes, we will be, and we are, part of the energy transition, and the shipping industry will do its part, and over time we will get to the goal. But to think that you can scrap perfectly good ships and replace them with new ones is just, for me, complete nonsense. It's the completely wrong way to think about it. We have to do it step by step. So how do we go about doing this? I mean, the energy transition, and I think I've been involved in that in previous roles now for actually quite a few years. is that initially the whole narrative around how shipping was going to be decarbonized was basically run by regulators, politicians, and NGOs. That is something we cannot accept as an industry. We have to control the narrative. We have to control the process. Of course, in line with the regulators to make sure that we all get to the end goal, which is to decarbonize the industry. But we cannot let people or organizations with absolutely no skin in the game decide how this process is run. So therefore, we as an industry have to work with the UGS, with the government, with the other organizations like Intertanko that represents our industry and make sure we move this in the right direction and we meet the goals that we have all set, which is to decarbonize over time. So that's number one. Number two, we need to manage the existing fleet in the most efficient and environmentally friendly way until those vessels exit the fleet. How do we do that? Well, we all here, we invest in energy-saving devices on the existing vessels. We make sure that we manage the vessels so that every year we can reduce our emissions. And when the time has come to scrap, well, then we do what's necessary to take the vessel out of the fleet. But the existing fleet must remain, will remain, and managed properly. The third point is we believe very strongly that all new vessels have to be dual fuel. Ordering conventional vessels today for us simply means the obsolescence risk is too big. We don't control what new regulations will come in. We don't control other changes. So you have to have dual fuel vessels. And for us, at least at Angelikusis, we believe firmly that LNG as the marine fuel is the absolute best solution. Why? Because it's proven, it's safe, it's price competitive, and it's available. Today. Not 10 years from now, today. And if we do it right, yes, it's a fossil fuel, but if we do it right, if you compare one of our dual fuel VLCCs that runs on LNG with a 10-year-old conventional VLCC, we reduce the emissions with 40% today, 40. That's for us a very, very meaningful and important CO2 reduction. So we have dual fuel tankers, we have dual fuel dry ships, and they all meet these very important reductions in CO2 emissions. And this is not theoretical, this is real data because these ships are in operation, so we can testify that this is actually the case. So we also think that when you blend in bio-LNG, and in the future when we have green or synthetic production, we can have synthetic LNG as you can have synthetic any type of fuel. So dual fuel LNG vessels, in our view, will last their entire life until 2050. And then we come to what is mostly on everybody's lips when it comes to decarbonization, and that's the fuels that have no carbon. Ammonia, hydrogen, and potentially methanol. We firmly believe that these fuels will be used in our industry going forward. But if I take them one by one, ammonia is toxic, so we need to make sure that it's safe to use it. There are no engines today that can burn ammonia. They will come. There are no bunkering facilities for vessels that will consume ammonia. This will come. My point is, again, this must be done step by step, and it will come in the future. Methanol, I have actually tried my best to understand why that is a good fuel. I am not convinced. And besides, it also has to be made out of renewables. And today there is no green methanol available. There will be in the future. Yes, I believe so. And then hydrogen, which, as you all know, will have to come from a very complex process which is quite expensive. Hydrogen in gaseous form, you need to keep at 700 bars. That's very high pressure. In liquid form, you need to keep it at minus 260 degrees. That's a very cold gas. So these technical developments, we firmly believe will come, but they're not there today. So we're all working very, very hard to find the best solution to implement this. So if I try to sum up, I think how to manage through the current very volatile times and do our best through the energy transition is, number one, take care of your people. Make sure that you have a very good relationship with your clients and probably also your banks. And then for the best marine fuel today, our view is that is LNG, because it gives an immediate solution and reduces emissions today, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. And the other fuels will come, but they're not there today. Thank you very much for your attention.
First of all, I would like to thank you very much.
Sure.
And I would like to make a couple of questions.
Sure.
It's something like a tradition we do every year. You are the largest private shipping company in the world, 141 vessels, 24 on order, 7 companies in the group, 8,500 employees. How's a typical day for a deputy CEO of such a group?
Starts very early. And basically, yes, as you say, it's a big group, but we are extremely well organized and with very, very good people. So I think the management of the group is something I look forward to every day. And we have a very, very good management team. So they obviously make my life and Maria's life easier, if I can put it that way. But everybody in this room that's in shipping knows that shipping is 24/7, 365. So that's just the way it works. And if you don't like that, well, then you shouldn't be in this business. So it's as simple as that.
Okay. After many years that you lived and worked abroad in many different countries, how do you find the Greek reality and working in Athens?
I have to thank you all for being so welcoming. No, I mean, it's been a wonderful experience. I think We have been extremely well received, and the Greek culture of welcoming and being open is very, very nice, and I have only good things to say, absolutely.
Okay. In 1987, Anagel American Holdings was the first Greek interest shipping company to go public. After 15 years, you came out. Do you have any intentions to have any of your companies going public again?
I think I have to say this very, very loud. No.
No. Okay.
Look, I think, first of all, I have listed companies both in New York and in Oslo. If you need public market money, it's a fantastic way to raise capital. If you don't need it, then you don't need it. Our group doesn't need it. So I think that's the simple answer.
Okay. And my last question before we ask the audience if they have any question is, what are your predictions for the three sectors that you trade in? LNG, tankers, and dry.
As long as nobody buys any stocks based on my advice, I'd be happy to answer. No, I think the LNG market looks good, but obviously it's more of a long-term market. And there we see very, very strong growth opportunities. LNG, especially after and because of the situation we are in, with all these uncertainties in the world, has become, in my view, one of the pillars of energy sources. So I think LNG looks very good. The tanker market, I mean, we are in VLCCs and Suezmaxes, is good. I mean, could be better, but it's good. And then the dry market has had a wonderful development so far this year, so that also looks good. Obviously, LNG is quite long-term. Tankers is somewhere in the middle, and dry is very short. So, I mean, it's hard to give any strong predictions on that. But overall, I think our outlook is very positive.
Okay, thank you. Έχουμε κάποιες ερωτήσεις που θα θέλατε. Ναι, Mr. Τσαβλήρης. Ένα μικρόφωνο να έχουμε για το κοινό. Ένα μικρόφωνο.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your speech. It was very interesting and very worthwhile hearing. My question is that I understand that all alternative fuels create emissions, including LNG. That is something that you did not mention in your speech. I'd like to put that question to you. Thank you.
Yes. I mean, for the LNG, obviously, I think what you're alluding to is basically methane slip or methane emissions when you consume. This is correct, but it depends on the engine. The engines that we build today, so MEGI engines, the methane slip is negligible. It's depending on the speed of the vessel, it's either zero or close to zero. So I mentioned earlier technological development. I mean, there's so much going on with respect to that I am 100% sure this will be resolved completely. There will not be any methane emissions for these type of engines in the future.
George.
George Siradakis, an ex-president as well. You know, the exes, we are following the current. This is Propeller Club because we care about the past and the future. Thank you very much for your wonderful speech. And I would like to express my real happiness because you started from the main factor, which is the human factor. And you spoke about the seafarers and the people. Traditionally, your group has shown a lot of things regarding the management of the Greek seafarers, and this is something very important. How possible is now, with such hundreds or thousands of Greeks that they are working there, or that there is a strong demand from your side in order to carry these 350 cadets every 6 months and then to go on and to go on? How possible is to invest yourself in the marine education, in a marine education institution to be based here in Greece and to bring the new mentality of the education and not wait for the Greek government, which is, or from the Greek state, to make this step?
Well, I mean, what you bring up is, of course, very, very important. I think that what is very important to us is that the Greek government understands the importance of the maritime academies and the values that brings to the Greek shipping industry. I think, of course, more can be done. But then again, that's also part of our responsibility. So, which is why we have the cadet program that we have. And as a matter of fact, we, in a sense, overspend or subsidize other companies because we don't take all the people that we train. But that's okay. That's okay. I still think that it's worthwhile 100% the program that we run. And I think the 3 different operating companies that we have are very, very pleased with the cadet program and the results that we gain from that. So we certainly will continue and probably also expand on it.
Έχουμε κάποια άλλη ερώτηση? Ναι, Γιώργο.
Mr. Støhle, good afternoon.
Stand up.
For your interesting speech. I have a question mostly on the market, specifically the LNG market. Given the rapid expansion of the increase in production, mainly from Qatar, increasing, if I'm not mistaken, from around 60 million MBTUs on an annual basis up to 120 million once the project is completed. Do you see this expansion affecting the market in general, and due to this expansion, a potential or probable creation of a similar to the oil market cartel in order to, let's say, control such increases in the capacity of wells? Thank you.
Okay. Well, let me start with the last point you made. No, I don't think there's any chance of a cartel because the current installed production capacity worldwide is about 450 million tons of production capacity per year. Currently, the Qataris have around 75, 80. And then they have the huge expansion. But at the same time, there's other production areas coming in. So let's say over the next 3-4 years, there will be added about 250 million tons on top of the existing. And mostly the big expansions in the US, which comes at the same time as the Qatari one. So we don't view that as an issue in terms of any cartel situation on the selling side, if you like. On the shipping side, I think it's all good because the market expands. Yeah.
We'll take one last one and we finish there. Έχουν κάποια άλλη?
Yes,
Good evening from me as well, from the Governor. Eddie Valenti is here. Thank you very much for your speech. Going back to the environmental questions, you mentioned that we should lead the process, and people who have skin in the game should lead the process towards the new regulations that are coming, and I applaud that. What is your view on the European Union's initiatives regarding these processes, and what stage of the EU ETS you're in? What is your experience so far? Do you think it's on the right track, and do you think this is something that will lead to something greater worldwide? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Obviously, we as an industry, and our view, our group is, obviously it would be much more preferable that there would be one carbon tax worldwide. Because that means a level playing field. Today there isn't a level playing field because the European Union has put in place the EU ETS, which means that when we trade, our ships trade inside of the EU, we're exposed to paying this tax. Is that wrong? No, I don't think it's wrong. Because these are the rules that we have to deal with. So I think, or at least our expectation is that at some point there will be a worldwide carbon tax of some sort that the whole industry will have to adhere to. And that will go a long way, we believe, to put these taxes on a level playing field. So to your point on the EU ETS, I'm not going to go into if it's right or wrong, but it's there. We have to deal with it. You can't run away from it. You have to deal with it. So we have put in place a system in our company which addresses that. So far, my view is that it works fine. It's additional administration, it's additional work, it's additional cost on the EU consumer, but this is what it is. And we just have to deal with it.
Sveinung, thank you very much.
Yes.
And most of all, thank you for flying the Greek flag in 80% of your fleet.
Thank you.
So, at this point, I would like to welcome Sveinung to our family as an honorary member.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to make this small tradition also and give you our club pin as an honorary member. Just like it. And our first vice president is going to give you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oops.
And our
Additional tie. Okay.
I would like to ask the ambassador and Mr. Tsandanis to join us and our board for a picture. Ελάτε πάνω.